It's time for another countdown, and once again it's back to Smash Brothers. Why do I keep ending up back here? I know that Smash is a very popular subject to talk about, and it's definitely responsible for my most popular videos. I've received so much support from you guys in the comments, and a lot of you have given your opinions and suggestions for characters you want to see, whether it be for DLC or future installments in the franchise. So I thought, what better video to do for all of you than to get the top 20 fan-requested fighters. This list has been made up of picks left by you guys in the comments of my personal DLC fighters video, and trust me when I say, this is going to be an interesting list. What I'll do is name each character in turn and give my opinions about them as potential fighters. So sit back and enjoy the top 20 Smash Brothers fan requested fighters. So, let us begin. Once again, like my own choices, there are rules I set when putting this list together. Number 1. The list is determined by votes. If someone wrote in the comments saying they wanted a character, that was counted as a vote. If someone wrote multiple characters, whether in a list or a set of names, the first name was declared as the vote, unless specifically listed as the number 1 pick. Number 2. If multiple characters tied for votes, then placements were determined by popularity. For example, which one turned up more often or higher in people's lists. And number 3, only 1 vote per comment. I noticed several people writing multiple comments with different characters, so to make it fair, the first comment is the one that's counted, and all others were disregarded. By the way, before I begin, there's one little issue I want to talk about. I've noticed a lot of people took offense to me declaring Falco and Wolf being clones of Fox. Well, that's because they are. But you guys misinterpreted what I'm talking about when I say clone. A clone character, in video game terms, isn't just a direct duplicate as some of you think I'm saying, but rather it refers to 2 or more fighters having nearly identical movesets, but with slight variations, whether in animation or in hitbox and damage outputs. In development, the clones will usually have a base character model as a starting point before being converted into their own character. But it's clear which character they were originally modeled from. This is obvious when you look at Falco and Wolf, because Fox was their origin point. Yeah, there are differences in their attacks, but ultimately they're still referred to as clones. That goes for characters like Lucas, Ganondorf, Toon Link, and even Jigglypuff, who was originally a Kirby clone. Though over time, all these characters have had alterations and variations made to them to differentiate themselves. So when I say clone, this is what I'm referring to, a modification of an existing fighter to produce a new one. Hell, Luigi is the king of clones, which is why the term to describe these characters with different altered movesets is known as Luigification. Okay, now that's out the way, without further ado, let's start the list with number 20. Okay, so to start the list we have Princess Daisy, who, as far as I can tell, if they were to include her into Smash, it would likely be as a Peach clone. I could see there being alterations to the attacks, such as taking Toad from Peach's move and replacing him with a fire or ice flower, since Daisy has an affinity for flowers. Also, Daisy is more tomboyish than Peach, so whereas Peach's neutral attack is slapping the enemy, Daisy might be more closed-fisted, or possibly even cat scratch. That's just a few examples of the type of changes that would likely be done if she were to be a fighter, but again, she would most likely end up being just a clone. I put Bayonetta on my list as well, but the more that time has gone on since I made my list, the more I started to think that it'd be unlikely she'll make it. Don't get me wrong, she'd make a great character, it's just that this iteration of Smash is playing it safe. Even with all the DLC, it's been very colourful and light-hearted. Bayonetta's a bit more risky, not because of the sexualization of the character. Zero Suit Samus's shop pretty much proved you can get away with less clothing. It's more to do with the guns, which is a big part of her style. Yeah, other characters have gun-type weapons as well, but they're all space-age blasters, or they don't look like realistic guns. Bayonetta's, however, are realistic guns. and to alter that or make any minor changes to her would be noticeable and would take away from the original character. But that's just my opinion. A few people in the comments said that if Eggman was brought into Smash, it would be as a Bowser Jr. clone. Honestly guys, I don't think they could do that based on Eggman's size compared to Bowser Jr. Eggman in his mech in Sonic Adventure 2 was pretty big in comparison to even Sonic. Eggman in terms of height is normally quite tall, so I'd place him about Bowser or Ganondorf's height range. Also, there's a rumour floating around saying that third-party characters are limited to one per franchise, which I haven't found any evidence or any quote from Sakurai himself to back that up. If this rule does exist, can someone link me the quote because I haven't seen it? But if I'm honest guys, I think it's complete bullshit, since a similar rumour floated around about there being a one per company rule. And we all know how that turned out, don't we? Snake is a difficult one to predict, since I don't think Kojima would have any problem with him returning, but at the same time, we don't know if Kojima has 100% control of the character anymore. Since falling out with and leaving Konami, the fate of Snake has become uncertain. Does Kojima have the rights to him as the creator? Or does Konami, as the company who created the Metal Gear games, have the final say? Nobody really knows right now, so until that issue's resolved, I don't think we'll see Snake make a return to the battle anytime soon. Such a shame, but there you go. I haven't played Wonderful 101. Just putting that out there. So I don't know anything about the game, other than that there's a whole collective of superheroes who band together in weird combinations to fight their enemies. It would be really interesting to see how they could incorporate that kind of gameplay into Smash Bros. But since we've had movesets created for Rob and even Duck Hunt, I don't think the developers would have much trouble creating a moveset for Wonder Red. Because I don't know much about him as a character, I can't really give my opinion on how he would work or whether he'd even fit. I will say though that I'm a big fan of bizarre choices for fighters, so should he get picked? I'd certainly approve of the inclusion. BanjoKazooie is a very popular third-party character pick, which is why I'm surprised they're not higher up on this list. I can only assume that most people that have commented on my video were either not BanjoKazooie fans, or they just have picks that rank higher with them. I can easily see why people want them though, since they have a huge history with Nintendo, being one of the biggest game series on the Nintendo 64. But despite what you guys may say, I don't think we're going to see them in Smash Bros. The company responsible for them, Rare, are owned by Microsoft. And before anyone comments, yes, I know that Phil Spencer gave his blessing and said that they would let them be included if they were highly requested. But look at this from a company logic standpoint. Yes, a DLC BanjoKazooie would be extremely popular and would likely net a lot of money for Nintendo in terms of sales. But that's where it would end for them. And the question you have to ask yourself is, would Nintendo be okay with allowing characters in that are owned by a rival company? When you look at characters like Sonic, Mega Man, Pac-Man, and Ryu, the companies that own them just work on game development exclusively, compared with Microsoft, who have a rival console. And taking that into account, say BanjoKazooie was added in. Their popularity might encourage a new BanjoKazooie game to be created, which would be great, but only for Microsoft, because I highly doubt a new BanjoKazooie game would be multi-platform. Microsoft would have exclusivity to a brand new game, and Nintendo, while making money on the DLC, would be opening the door for Microsoft getting more money from this new game. That's only a theory, but it's one I think a lot of other people have. So, personally I say it's highly unlikely, but don't give up hope guys. You never know. Okay, seriously, not being funny here, guys, but if you don't like this pick, don't blame me, this is your list. And yes, this ranked higher than BanjoKazooie. To all of you who voted for Freddy, let me just start off by saying, good for you. I fully support people who are willing to share their picks even if I don't personally agree with them, which is the case here. And to those of you who leave the hate comments after these people share their opinions, I have this to say. Stop it. Just stop it. If you don't like someone's choices, that's fine. I've read the comments of my videos. I know that there are people who hate some of my picks. Is that going to make me change my opinion? No, it's not. It pisses me off when there are people that are verbally abusive towards an opinion. It's a fucking opinion. If you don't agree with it, fine. Just say why and leave it at that. Don't go on a rant insulting the person for making their pick. Now, I know that there are a lot of you guys out there who do keep an open mind, and I've seen that with the responses to some of my picks, and I praise your critique and input, guys, because although you don't always agree, you've said why and have still been respectful about it. But bottom line is, if you haven't got anything nice to say about people's choices, then don't say anything at all. It's not hurting anyone to voice an opinion. Moving on to Freddy. He's never going to be in Smash Bros. I fully support people picking strange ideas, but Freddy is just one that doesn't work, and would never happen. Sorry to those who voted for him, but here's the straight fact. Let's just take away the fact that Five Nights at Freddy's is an indie game. Let's take away the fact that the game has never been on a Nintendo console. And let's take away the fact that the character doesn't lend itself to a moveset. Because Nintendo's had bloody and horror-based games on their consoles in the past, and being an indie game doesn't make a difference. If it did, then that would exclude characters like Shantae and Shovel Knight, among others. Plus, as we've seen, Nintendo are very creative at making movesets for characters that have none to begin with. Ignoring all of that, what do you have? Freddy Fazbear is a killer robot possessed by the spirit of a murdered child. Sakurai would not allow something like that to be represented in Smash Bros., a game that is light-hearted, colourful, and targeted towards people of every age, particularly families. That's my final word on this matter, but don't let it stop you from thinking of other choices for fighters. My advice is just keep them grounded in reality. I couldn't believe how many people picked this, and although it's very unlikely, I kinda like to think I had some influence in this. After all, this was in my list too, and I think I was the first person to even put it on a list. Yeah, it's a stupid character idea, but I know a lot of Smash fans that hate characters already on the roster, like Wii Fit Trainer or Rob. I've already said in my Fighters video that the moveset is already there, with different dance-related poses and moves. I mean, the Capoeira fighting style is a mixture of martial arts and dance, so they could incorporate something like that and make an interesting character from it. I personally think it has potential as a fighter because it fits every requirement for making it into Smash Bros. Being unique, being age appropriate, and having history with Nintendo. Maybe you agree, or maybe you don't. Either way, it's on this list. Another one of my choices that's had a number of people supporting the idea. I know that there have been a few people who were hurt that I didn't pick characters like Cloud or the Black Mage, but I have my reasons for not picking them. For starters, Smash has a lot of sword and magic users already, so to add another one, even if the moveset were based on the moves from Final Fantasy, it would just seem a bit boring and redundant. Cloud can attack with his sword attacks! Haven't seen that before. Black Mage would use elemental attacks like fire and thunder. You mean like Zelda or Robin? Chocobo and Moogle, however, would work as a duo. Oh, what's that? We've had partner characters before? Yeah, true, but each one brings something different each time. I mean, there's only so many ways you can swing a sword around. With Ice Climbers, Popo is the one you control, while Nana pretty much mimics everything you do. Rosalina sends Luma out and controls him like a distant projectile, so really it is only Rosalina you control. Same with Olimar, he throws the Pikmin out. The only one who's even close to the design I would like to use for Chocobo and Moogle is Duck Hunt, as the dog and duck function together and attack as a double act, and the duck rides on the dog's back. Also, like Duck Hunt, who uses a collection of attacks based on the light gun games, Chocobo and Moogle's moveset would incorporate a number of RPG job classes from the Final Fantasy series, not just focus exclusively on one alone like many characters from Final Fantasy would. Plus, while not being the first double act fighter, they would be the first mount riding character. Another reason I picked Chocobo and Moogle is down to their appearance in the series of Final Fantasy, or rather, how many games they're in. If we focus on just the main numbered games and don't include sequels or spin-offs, how many games has Cloud been in? 1. What about the Black Mage? The designs shown up in Final Fantasy 1, 3, 5, 9, 11, and 14. Okay, so 6 games. How many games have had Chocobos and Moogles in them? Apart from Final Fantasy 1 for both, and Final Fantasy 2 for the Moogles, every single numbered game has had them. Even if we were to take the sequels and spin-offs into account, Chocobos and Moogles still vastly outnumber any other character in the series for appearances. I know that people will still want their favourite hero from Final Fantasy to make it in, and I don't blame you, because each one is special to everyone who picks them. That's how amazing the Final Fantasy series is. They give us so many great characters that we all love. Chocobo and Moogle as a duo fighter just feels better suited to represent the series as a whole, and not just for 1 or 2 games. I'm not an expert on Legend of Zelda, but Impa is a character I hear a lot of requests for. I guess when we've had 5 Smash Bros. Games and half the Legend of Zelda representation has been Link, it's understandable people want someone else. I had to do a bit of background research on Impa to find out who she is. And you know what? I agree with every one of you who want her. Along with Zelda, Link, and Ganondorf, Impa is a pretty significant and recurring presence across the timeline, being a guardian of the Hylian royal family, in this case, Zelda's bodyguard. Someone like that sounds really cool, and I see she's got a playable role in Hyrule Warriors, so if she was included, her moveset and look would likely stem from that. Yeah, I can get behind this inclusion. Again, much like Wonder Red, I don't know a whole lot about her, but from what I've read, I think she would make a great addition to the Zelda cast for Smash. This is another character that gets a ton of requests, but unlike Impa or BanjoKazooie, who have had a great many appearances and a rich history that expands their characters, I can't say the same for Geno. The Mario RPG game is something I haven't played, so I apologize if I don't see what everyone else is seeing. As far as I know, this is his only playable appearance in the Mario franchise. And yeah, the game was made by Square Enix, at the time just Square, so that's more than likely the reason why. But my question is, what makes this guy so special that people want him so much? Does he really have that much of an impact from just one game? I guess I'd need to play the game to find out, but it's because of all these requests that I even know who he is to begin with. And this is just my own opinion. A character for Smash Bros. Should already have an established presence before being considered for inclusion. Even Earthbound and Fire Emblem had a fanbase, although mainly in Japan back then. Again, it's my own opinion, not something to be taken as law, but if someone is put in Smash Bros., then people should immediately be able to know which game they came from, and not just know them for Smash and nothing else. And that's what Geno was like for me when Brawl was being released. I sort of know who he is now, but back then, I didn't have a clue. And honestly, look at kids today, who likely won't even know about Mario RPG, let alone have played it. Do you think they would know who he is or where he comes from? I doubt it. I am by no means saying he's an impossible pick, but I just find it highly unlikely because of these factors. But hey, if you want to vote for him, or you already did vote for him, more power to you. Yep, I knew this was coming. And I have to say, I'm very surprised he hasn't already been announced. In fact, with there being a new Star Fox game for the Wii U, you'd think that he would return. Some people speculate that he will, and that Nintendo are waiting to release him in line with the new game. But we already had confirmation with the recent stream of DLC that Ryu, Lucas, and Roy were the last planned fighters, which means Wolf wasn't planned to return. We've had every character from Brawl return for Smash 4 except for 2. We already know what the deal is with the Ice Climbers, but Wolf doesn't make a lot of sense. His model from Brawl still exists, so it wouldn't take much to give him a new design and tweak his moves. They did it with Lucas after all. I can only assume the reason is because Wolf possibly wasn't as popular a character? A long shot I know, but it's the only explanation I can reach. But I know that there are a lot of Wolf fans out there, a ton who wrote in the comments asking for him. So I will be very surprised if he's not coming back. More popular than any Final Fantasy character, number 8 is Sora from Kingdom Hearts. I can agree that his art style and unique Keyblade weapon would fit pretty well. At least in my personal opinion it would. The downside is that he's just another sword-wielding character. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just that I like seeing new unique characters showing up in Smash. Mr. Game & Watch, Rob, Wii Fit Trainer, Duck Hunt. These are all characters that by rights shouldn't work for a fighting game because of their backgrounds and in some cases lack of movesets. But that's why they're so cool. Each one is unique and not just a typical brawler, gunner or sword fighter. See, even the Mii fighters aren't really unique, but their gimmick is customization. Back to Sora. As I said, his Keyblade is just another sword, so if he was brought into Smash Bros., as long as he had something that made him unique and different from everyone else, I wouldn't mind his inclusion. I can easily see his final Smash, it being the drive form, and to make it really unique, give him the Sync Blade ability where he can wield 2 Keyblades at once. And, as an added attention to detail, have the form random so you're never sure which drive form you get when his final Smash is activated. Sonic's Player 2 and trusted companion. I will say that as far as creating a moveset goes, Tails has probably got the most versatile type of skills you could draw from for inspiration when creating attacks, and I think that would easily lend to a unique and interesting moveset. Tails has his standard attacks like Sonic where he can punch and kick and roll into a ball, but he also has the ability to use his tails for combat, and very obviously for flying as well. He's also a tech genius and has a number of gadgets he can use too, such as the ring bombs, the magic hand, and different types of small robots. He's a character I think has potential to be a great fighter, and the skills he possesses gives him what I believe to be a unique fighting style, since no other character on the roster relies firmly on gadgets to fight with. And Bowser Jr. doesn't count, because the clown car is a vehicle, not a gadget. Other characters do use the odd special tool like Mario's Flood and Duck Hunt's barrels, but Tails' complete special move list would be entirely gadgets, making him somewhat of a ranged or trap-based fighter. Some people may not agree, and that's fine. For those of you who do agree, I'd love to know what ideas you guys would have for Tails' battle style. You know what? When they removed Waddle Dee from DDD's side special and replaced him solely with the Gordo, I thought we might see Waddle Dee or Bandana Dee make some sort of an appearance. Though, I was expecting more of an assist trophy appearance, but we didn't even seem to get that. it does seem odd that he'd be completely removed altogether, unless Nintendo were worried that parents might complain the attack move was encouraging the idea of DDD's abusive behavior towards his minions. But if that's the case, what's Peach's excuse? She's constantly putting Toad in harm's way as one of her attacks. Honestly, I don't think that was the reason for the removal. It's more likely similar to the Ice Climbers issue, since in Brawl, after using the Waddle Dee, it'll walk around on the battlefield for a little bit before disappearing. It could be the 3DS couldn't process something like that right, so they just scrapped it and stuck with the Gordo, since it doesn't move on its own after use. With regards to Waddle Dee or Bandana Dee or ABCD or whatever you want to call him, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. He does fit all the unofficial criteria list, and yes, I said unofficial because we don't know what decides who gets in. Only one man does. Now we come to the final 5 fighters that were picked by you guys. And I'm not surprised one bit about who they are. I'm actually more surprised about their placements, to be honest. No surprise with this pick, but it has surprised me that she's only number 5 on this list. I guess it's because most of the Shantae fans haven't left a comment casting a vote for her. Or, is it possible she's not as highly requested as we think? I doubt it, since at the time of this video's creation, there is only just over 70,000 views of the Fighters video, and of those views, only about 500 comments, so take that as you will. As far as Shantae goes for me personally, I have no problem with her being included in Smash. And I think she's probably the one character that would translate easiest into the art style and overall design of this latest iteration. As I stated before in my Fighters video, I don't have a personal connection with her, which is why I never chose her for my list. Hell, if I'm honest, until the Smash Ballot was even announced, I'd never heard of her. But you know what? That might not even matter, because on IMDb page of Christina V, the voice of Shantae, there's an interesting thing to take note of. It seems the Half Genie Hero's inclusion may have been leaked. Though don't get your hopes up too much, Shantae fans, as Christina herself actually said that she personally did not add these credits, suggesting they might have been put there by a hacker. Though strangely, they're still there at the time of this video's creation. Considering how many leaks Nintendo have been having with Smash Bros., and we've had equally true and false ones, I'm not sure what to suggest. Other than, until we get actual confirmation, I don't want to give people undue hope. I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off with saying this, but I don't want the Inkling as DLC. Put the knives and guns down, I have my reasons. The first is that I'd rather the Inkling be a newcomer for the next iteration of Smash, because then they would be an actual first-party roster member, and not just afterthought DLC. The second is that, at the time the Smash Ballot was even announced, Splatoon hadn't even been released, and I've got somewhat of a disdain for people wanting to add the Inkling in because it's from a new IP, and being included in Smash will boost the popularity of the Splatoon series. It shouldn't have to do that to begin with. The series should be able to stand on its own merits and not piggyback on an already successful franchise. Personally, I think Splatoon is gaining a lot of positivity already, and I'm sure there'll be more games for the series down the line. That is when the time will be right to join the roster of Smash, when the series is able to stand on its own achievements and prove it deserves its place, not just be the fighter that got in because it needed promoting. As I've stated many times before, even Earthbound and Fire Emblem had a few games under their belts before being considered. This is just my own personal opinion, so if you voted for the Inklings, don't take any offense to what I've said. I'd just rather they be a brand new character than just DLC. Actually, I'm not surprised how highly requested Waluigi is. I even put him on my list, though there was a reason he was quite low down in the rankings for me. and that's mainly due to the fact that he was an assist trophy already within the game. But as some people have stated, there are ways that this can be worked around. It wouldn't take much for the Waluigi assist trophy to be removed or replaced with someone else, allowing for him to be retooled as a playable fighter. And once again, the rumours or unofficial rulings keep flying around, as for some reason it was declared that current assist trophies couldn't become DLC playable fighters. Since when was that a rule? Yeah, when Waluigi was revealed to be an assist trophy by Sakurai way back when Smash 4 was being developed, he said, "Just because you try hard doesn't mean you'll make it into the battle." Where does that say that he has no chance of becoming a DLC fighter? Hell, a future fighter in general. The statement Sakurai made was for that specific moment in time. He didn't say, "Waluigi's returning as an assist trophy, so don't bother voting for him as DLC in the future Smash Ballot we're going to be doing." The biggest argument for Waluigi becoming a fighter is Little Mac's upgrade. Yeah, granted, Little Mac's inclusion had much longer to work on, but it shows that assist trophies can become playable. Maybe you're right, and he won't become DLC, but that doesn't stop him from becoming a new fighter in future installments, which, when you consider how popular he's becoming, I would wager is highly likely. And screw that rule about having to have your own game before being considered. When the hell was that a prerequisite? Palutena doesn't have her own game. Rosalina and Luma don't have their own game. Hell, Rob isn't even a game character, he's a game accessory. I know that there's a quote that Sakurai doesn't actually like Waluigi, but honestly, I kinda think he's joking a little about that. I mean, if he was really serious and didn't like him at all, there's no way he would have added him in as an assist trophy to begin with. I am sure we will see Waluigi make it in as a playable fighter. It might not be DLC, but I'm sure it will be sometime in the future. I don't see it. I don't see it. Oh no, not Shadow becoming a playable fighter, no. I don't see why this guy's so damn popular. Is this what people wanted? Angsty Sonic? Sorry guys, I know he's a great character, and even on occasions, I've enjoyed playing as Shadow in various Sonic games, but this guy's just Angsty Sonic. I know the broody quiet loner characters are really popular. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Batman pretty much is the walking definition of broody. But this is Sonic the goddamn Hedgehog! A game that's not supposed to take itself seriously. Okay, I know he's popular, and I know loads of people have suggested countless movesets, mostly revolving around his chaos control powers, which makes total sense. Still, I can't help feeling because he's exactly like Sonic, he'd just be another clone. Granted, a rather diverse clone, since his special attacks would be completely different to Sonic, and I imagine he'd be a slower, more powerful version of him, but Sonic would still be the base character that they would start with when creating Shadow. Once again, the assist trophy question comes into play here, but I've already given my opinion on that already, so I'm not going to repeat everything I just said, so I'll just finish by saying, I can see how he could be a fighter. I could easily see a modified moveset for him, but I just don't see why he's so damn popular. It's just a Sonic recolor with upturned spikes. I guess it must be the contrasting personalities? You know, Sonic being the carefree, outgoing attention seeker, and Shadow being the antithesis of that, preferring to be on his own and away from the attention. It could just be because this type of personality doesn't appeal to me, but hey, what are you gonna do? To each their own. If you like him, fine. He's number 2. Fucking yes. Whether it's because of my list, or whether it's because there are so many fans in the comments, but Rayman was the runaway winner of this list. And it's not hard to see why, since he's a very well-known company mascot. That's not to say that this list hasn't had other company mascots, but Rayman is arguably the biggest one. Chocobo and Moogle are only really known by the RPG crowd, though recently non-RPG gamers can recognise them on sight as being from Final Fantasy. Rayman, on the other hand, is a platformer character, which generally has the wider reach in terms of the game audience. While Shantae is a platformer character as well, and has had a number of games in the past, she's really only been receiving attention in recent years. It didn't help that her debut title was released on the Game Boy Color, a whole year after the Game Boy Advance was out, so not many people would have played it. It also didn't help that she didn't get a sequel until 8 years after the first game. Yeah, she kinda fell into obscurity because of that. I mean, back when Brawl was being developed, I don't remember people voting for her then. It was all Geno and Mega Man. So this is why I think Rayman is probably the most popular pick for Smash. When it comes down to it, he is just more widely known by gamers young and old. That's not to say that everyone and their mothers will be voting for him, because there are a ton of other great characters people have been wanting since Melee. And as this list has proven, there are more than enough options to pick from. But way back when Pac-Man was revealed, and they had that awesome picture of 4 of gaming's biggest icons battling it out, everyone was hunting to find another big name to add to the mix. And Rayman was almost immediately suggested along with BanjoKazooie and guys like Bomberman and Simon Belmont, neither of whom even made this list. Well, time will tell if this is what we'll be seeing as the outcome of the Smash Ballot. I doubt it will come out exactly like this, since the number of people who voted on this list has been a very small group. But I am confident that the majority of these choices will be in the top half of the rankings. One name that didn't make this list though, and it surprised me a ton, was King K. Rool. Arguably, this guy is one of the top requested characters, but he's not anywhere on this list of 20. Like I said, the number of people who voted on this list is practically a speck in the overall fandom. But really? 20 potential characters and he wasn't even among them? Though we have recently had the new release of costumes for the Mii fighters, and one of them is King K. Rool. Does that remove any chances of him being a playable fighter for DLC? I don't think so, because they have Mii fighter outfits of Samus and Link, fighters who are already on the roster, so in my opinion, King K. Rool is still very much a contender. Regardless, this is the top 20 fan requested fighters. Do you agree with the list? Or do you think it's completely wrong? Either way, let me know in the comments below, and please respect opinions, and by all means give your own and discuss them. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say about this list, and I really enjoyed making it because it's given me a much better understanding of the kind of games and characters you all love. I cannot wait for October, because it's going to be an amazing time for gamers and the Smash community. Thank you guys so much for all your votes and contributions to this list, and if you haven't already, check out my other Smash Bros. Countdown videos. You might also be interested in some of my other videos, so feel free to check them out as well. And if you like them, why not become a Rascal and subscribe today to get the latest videos straight away. And if you have any suggestions for games you want me to look at, or topics to discuss, by all means drop me a comment. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, keep enjoying Super Smash Bros., and I will catch you guys next time.